Hi there, welcome to this Moonstruck Knits video. I'm Natasha and I'm excited to share something special with you today. Let's talk about the Malin cardigan, a true favorite of mine. It's that perfect blend of classy and comfy. Making the Malin cardigan is totally doable and I've got some neat tips in this video to make it even easier. Shall we begin? First up, the bumpless increase, which is used to shape the neckline and armholes of the cardigan. Because the body has a slip stitch pattern in two colors, it is necessary to make the increase out of a stitch and not between stitches as you would do with a make one. And to do that at the very edge to not disturb the color work. Usually you would do a knit front back in these instances, but that has the disadvantage that if you do that in the first stitch of a row, it will produce a purl bump on the right side one stitch into the fabric. Here you can see what I mean. With a heavier yarn like the Lopi or any other worsted weight yarn, this purl bump might be visible after you've picked up your stitches for the collar and the sleeves. So I chose to do a bumpless increase, which I will show you now. Knit 1, but don't slip the knitted stitch of your needle. Instead, insert your right hand needle in the back loop of that stitch and then slip it off your needle. Now you have increased one stitch without that pesky bump. And that's all there is to it. Let's do that again. Knit 1. Insert in back loop and slip. In the pattern, this increase is abbreviated as KFSB, knit front, slip back. For Malin, most increases are done on the wrong side of the fabric because it's easier with the flow and color changes of the slip stitch pattern. So I will now show you the wrong side version of the bumpless increase too. Knit 1. Do not slip the stitch of the needle. Yarn forward. Insert the right hand needle in the back loop of that stitch and slide it off the needle. Because you've moved the yarn forward, you can now proceed to purl the remainder of the row. Let's do it again. Knit 1, yarn forward, insert in back loop, slip, and continue purling. In the pattern, this increase is abbreviated as KF, YF, SB, knit front, yarn forward, slip back. Here you see a swatch with 4 of these bumpless increases on every second row, and as you can see, the edges look nice and clean without any bumps next to the edges. So that's that for the bumpless increase. Now let's delve into working in pattern while increasing. At a certain point, after you've worked several repeats of the little cross slip stitch pattern, you will be instructed to work in pattern, while at the same time increasing at the edges. From there on, you will need to read your knitting to determine which stitches to work and which stitches to slip. Up here you see the 8 rows of the pattern repeat. It is not necessary to memorize those, but it will help you understand how the little cross pattern is structured. As you can see, row 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 and 7 have a 4-stitch repeat, which are the instructions in red within the brackets. It's a so-called 1 and 3 repeat where you slip 1 or 3 and work 3 or 1 stitches. On the right side you will knit the stitches that need to be worked, on the wrong side you will purl them. Row 4 and 8 are wrong side rows that will be purled entirely except for the edge stitches. Since the edges of the cardigan are worked in garter stitch, you will start every row that is not an increase row with a knit stitch in the color you will be working with. So for this swatch, the light color is my main color and the dark color is the contrast color. I've worked the 8 rows of the pattern, which is 1 pattern repeat, and then another 7 rows. In the next row, the 8th and last row of the pattern repeat, I will increase 1 stitch at both edges. So I will start with a KF, YF, SB, a bumpless wrong side increase. purl to the last stitch, and increase again with a purl front back. Now I'm ready for row 1 of the pattern repeat, which needs to be worked in a contrast color, which in this case is the dark color. If I look at my knitting, I can see that in order to continue the pattern of staggering little crosses, stitch 4, 8 and 12 need to be knitted in a dark color. Since we always start our row with a knit stitch, this means I will knit 1, slip 2 to get to that 4th stitch, and knit 1. After this, you just continue with the 3 and 1 stitch repeat, slipping 3, knitting 1, until you get to the other edge. There you will finish the row by slipping 2 and knitting the last stitch. So now we will work a wrong side row. On this row the little cross pattern is not very visible, but in order to create the horizontal bar of the little cross, you know you need to work 3 stitches on top of that single dark stitch of the last row. You will start with a knit stitch, then slip 1 and purl 3 to create that horizontal bar of the cross. And from here on you'll work the 3 in 1 stitch repeat, slipping 1 and purling 3 to the other edge. Where you will finish by slipping 1 and knitting the last stitch. Now let's do row 3. In this row you are going to finish the little cross by slipping the center dark stitch of the 3 dark stitches you've worked in the previous row. So the 4th stitch should be slipped. Start with knitting the first stitch, then knit 2 to reach that center stitch. Slip 1, and from here work the 3 and 1 pattern by knitting 3 and slipping 1. End this row with 3 knit stitches. I will speed up and work row 4 of the pattern to show you the result. So that is all there is to working in pattern while increasing. Just look at your knitting and you will be absolutely fine. The last thing I would like to demonstrate is the Icelandic bind-off, which is used for Malin's sleeve edges and the lower edge of the body. The Icelandic bind-off is quite stretchy but firm and produces a decorative bumpy edge that looks great as an ending for garter stitch. You will start with knitting the first stitch and slipping it back to your left-hand needle. Insert your right-hand needle purlwise into the front loop of that stitch. Now insert your needle knitwise into the front loop of the second stitch and pull the second stitch through the first stitch and knit it. Slip both stitches off the needle. You have now bound off one stitch. Slip the stitch that is on your right-hand needle to your left-hand needle and repeat. Purlwise into the front loop of the first stitch, knitwise into the front loop of the second stitch, pull through and knit. Slide both stitches of your needle. I will quickly bind off the remainder of the stitches. When all stitches are bound off, pull a loop with the last stitch on your right-hand needle and break the yarn. So these were the 3 tutorials for the Malin cardigan. I hope I have convinced you that Malin is a fun knit with some beautiful details, and here's to happy knitting, and who knows, we might cross paths again for more creative yarn-filled adventures. Bye now.